McGowan was particularly critical from saying that please judge New South Wales on our record. I wouldn't presume to have any advice for any of our colleagues apart from saying that please judge New South Wales on our record of how we manage things here, and it's not for me to suggest what other premiers should do. That's a matter for them, and I think all of us have to be considerate of what's happening in WA at the moment. It's really difficult when communities have to go through lockdown, and our thoughts are with everyone in WA at the moment. We do. We test our quarantine workers daily, and I'm pleased to say that every time we have had an audit of our system, New South Wales. We do. We test our quarantine workers daily, and I'm pleased to say that every time we have had an audit of our system, New South Wales has come out on top in terms of the national framework. But no system is perfect, and this demonstrates that elimination isn't possible so long as you're welcoming Australians back home, which we have been doing, and I don't think anyone would suggest that we should deny our Australian citizens the ability to come back home. Whilst you're welcoming Australians back home, that risk is always going to be there, which is why elimination isn't a strategy. Our strategy has to be zero community transmission. That's what all of us are working towards. They are, but the key thing is you cannot prevent people who work in the quarantine system. There's thousands of them. They are, but the key thing is you cannot prevent people who work in the quarantine system, and there's thousands of them, from going about their daily lives, whether they're in a workplace, whether they go home, or whether they go to a community event with hundreds of people. The risk is always there, and that's why it's really important for us to continue our daily checks, to continue the strong framework we have. But we have to appreciate the reality is no system can be perfect in a pandemic. The disease is very contagious, and whilst people do the right thing most of the time, there's always a slight lapse for a minute can cause the disease to spread, and we have to be aware of that risk. The key thing is how do you respond to that when there is an outbreak or there is a concern, and that's when obviously the response is paramount. I'm not sure when our health authorities found out specifically about what's going on here, but I know now that they're I'm not sure when our health authorities found out specifically about what's going on there, but I know now that they're in contact with the WA authorities, and that's the important thing.
And how much confidence do they have in dealt with community outbreak?
Look at this stage, cases of community transmission, so I can't really comment on that, but I do wish them extremely well. It's a difficult. Well, look, at this stage there aren't any cases of community transmission, so I can't really comment on that, but I do wish them extremely well. It's a difficult situation. I know how I felt when we had risks in New South Wales. I mean, the Avalon cluster, in a couple of days we had over 40 cases of community transmission. So it's always a concerning time, and our thoughts are with everybody in WA. It's very difficult going into lockdown for any period of time. It's a scary time, and for businesses and communities and families, and I do wish them well, and I hope that the situation has a good result, and hopefully there won't be any cases of further community transmission, and hopefully the precautions they're taking will be the end of it.